Hello, hello, and welcome back to Greenhouse Eats. We are on episode 5 of the Sovereignty series, and this episode is going to be about trusting. It's going to be about spiritual sovereignty and trusting your inner authority. Okay, so if you're doing the rituals and the ritual, yeah. Blah. If you're following along with this and you're doing the rituals and you got the freebie for the ritual connection book that we have, it would be step number 6 is the ritual that would go along with this particular episode. Okay. So we've talked about emotional sovereignty. We've talked about relational sovereignty. We've talked about bodily sovereignty. But today we are going to step into something a little bit deeper. And oh, good Lord, I got something in my eye. We're going to step into something a little deeper because even if you understand your emotions and you understand your relationships and you understand that you got to start listening to your body, and you've started that process, there's still you still have the one question left. There's still a question left, and that question is, who do you trust to guide your life? Who do you trust to guide your life? Who do you trust, and who are you trusting? Who have you been trusting to guide your life and the decisions that you make in your life? Is it your parents? Is it the culture that you were raised up in? Is it your religion? Is it your partner? Is it your friends? Or is it you? Who is it? So today we're talking about spiritual sovereignty. So, go grab your tea. Grab what you need. Hold on, let me pause for a second. Okay, I'm back. So, what is spiritual sovereignty, right? What is it? What is it? What is it exactly? So, spiritual sovereignty means recognizing that your inner guidance matters. You don't outsource your sense of inner authority or put your sense of trust in other people completely. It means that you can listen to teachers, friends, mentors, or different wisdom systems, but your own discernment stays intact. It remains active. Spiritual sovereignty says, I respect wisdom from many places, but I still feel and think for myself. Okay. So many people were raised, a lot of us were raised to believe that authority exists outside of ourselves. It exists outside of them. When you're from, looking at somebody else from the outside looking in, or, sometimes people on the outside see you better than you see yourself sometimes. So from that perspective, many people were raised to believe that authority exists outside of themselves. Maybe, it came through religion. Maybe it came through family expectations, or maybe it came through, culture or institutions. So it's possibility you've heard things or heard messages like, excuse me, trust this voice, follow this rule, don't question this system, don't question the rules. But sometimes, you know, these systems do offer wisdom. Sometimes they do. A lot of them do. They do. There is wisdom, and there's wisdom in a lot of things. There's wisdom in everything. Everything has a little wisdom in it, right? So I'm not telling you to not like listen to wisdom. But what I will say is sometimes these same systems or places where we're pulling or leaning on for the to offer us authority in our lives will sometimes teach us or teach people to disconnect from our own intuition, because now we're solely relying on those outside sources for the wisdom, guidance, and authority over the decisions and choices that we make. And spiritual sovereignty allows you to learn without surrendering your ability to think and feel for yourself. And let me repeat that. Spiritual sovereignty allows you to learn without surrendering your ability to feel and think for yourself. Okay? So, guidance versus control. Let's talk about guidance versus control, because there's guidance and then there's control. Healthy guidance says, here's some wisdom that you can consider. Consider this. Listen, consider this. Think about this. Here's a possibility. Let me offer you another possibility, another perspective, just think about it. I don't want to change your mind, but I'm just, control says this, don't question this. It's not up for debate. We're not questioning it. It's not up for debate. It is how it is. This is the golden rule, right? Healthy guidance encourages curiosity. Control discourages curiosity, does not allow for you to be curious. Okay? So, quick example, like a kid asking why. Why? And you're like, because I said so. Just a small example. I mean, there are many examples I probably could have went with. I'm gonna go with that one for now. Okay. So, spiritual sovereignty allows exploration of traditions, philosophy, psychology, intuition, personal reflection without surrendering your autonomy. Spiritual sovereignty allows exploration of traditions, philosophy, psychology, intuition, and personal reflection without surrendering your autonomy. Okay? Hmm. 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 So, reconnecting with our inner voice, because our inner guidance system is always speaking, right? Sometimes it speaks as intuition, sometimes it's just a quiet like inner knowing, like you just know, you just be knowing. And sometimes it's just a sense that something just don't doesn't feel right, or something does feel right. Because sometimes it feels right, and sometimes it's like, mm, that don't quite feel just right. But that voice can get deep, buried deep under all the noise, the social pressures, the fear of people judging you, and other people's expectations. What's expected of you? What do we think? What are the societal expectations of us? What are my parents' expectations? What is, the people at the church going to think? That, God's expectations. Depending on whether your sense of authority comes from those religious, possibly your religious practices, or whether they come from, cultural, familial, or institutional. So spiritual sovereignty is going to require space. It is going to require space, moments of quiet, where you ask yourself, what do I actually feel is true? What do I actually feel is true? What do you actually feel is true? Hmm? What do you actually feel is true? Hmm? You don't have to get quiet. Think about it for a second. Hmm. Because there's like right from wrong. I wanna let me. Huh. What do I actually feel is true? Okay, so pause for a second. Whew. Spiritual sovereignty. So I want to give some examples, okay? Because I feel like we need some examples. So I'll go over just a few different ones, because I know that we got a different crowd of people. I'm speaking to a lot of different people here. I have this feeling that this is gonna be for a lot of different people. So, example of outsourcing our authority, our spiritual authority, right? So that could be um, getting a reading. Okay, so getting a reading, seeking guidance, and enjoying tarot is not, outsourcing your spiritual authority. However, not being able to make a decision until a reader tells you what to do could be could possibly be you outsourcing your inner authority, right? It could be getting multiple readings until, until the reader tells you what you want to hear. Um, Learning, another example in the realm of spiritual teachers and gurus could be learning from teachers, taking courses and following, your traditions. Um, are ways that it are examples of where you're not outsourcing your spiritual authority. You're just learning, taking a class, you're following, whatever the traditions are, or whatever, right? But just assuming that a teacher is always right because they're more evolved, that could be, an example of you outsourcing your spiritual authority. Ignoring your own discernment is another example or way that you outsource your spiritual authority. Staying in harmful spaces because the teacher said that discomfort equals growth is, another way that you could be, outsourcing your intuition, your spiritual authority. So within like a religious institutions, examples of not outsourcing your spiritual authority is, just having faith, participating in religious practice, belonging, to the community, but believing that you can't access the divine without someone else's permission. That is you outsourcing your spiritual authority. Ignoring your conscience because an authority figure said so, and being afraid to question what you're being taught are ways that you can be outsourcing your spiritual authority. So an example, my spirit is telling me one thing, but I'm afraid to trust it. And, something felt off, but I ignored it because everybody else seemed okay with it. Everybody else in the room seemed okay with what was said, but I knew something didn't quite feel right. Like that shit didn't sound quite right, but I mean, ain't nobody else questioning it, so it must be right, right? And relationships. So in the realm of like family, some ways that you may in familial relationships, some of the ways that we can um examples of us outsourcing our authority could be, the women in my family always put everyone else first. They're always, you're watching them always do for everybody else. That's just how we do things in this family. Good women sacrifice, things that we've been taught. Many people think that following their intuition many people think they're following their intuition when they're actually following inherited programming, right? In a relationship, some examples could be, constantly asking your partner what you should do. What do you think I should do, babe? Huh? What do you think? Needing approval before you make decisions. Oh, I feel like I'm going to do. What do you think? You think I should do that? I probably shouldn't do that, huh? Should I do that? Or, letting your partner define your worth. So some examples of what spiritual, sovereignty sounds like will be, I'll listen, I will listen, but I also will decide. I can learn from you without becoming dependent on you. Guidance is wisdom, Guidance is wisdom and welcomed. Authority remains within me. The authority remains within me. I trust my capacity to listen. I trust my capacity to discern what I'm listening to, what I'm hearing. I trust my own discernment. Like, I'm going to trust my own inner discernment. I honor the wisdom without surrendering myself. Okay? So I think those are just some more like examples. What else? I'm trying to think of, like, what are some other examples? And like in our families, like the caretaker roles that we have, somebody's always got to be the goddamn peacemaker, the strong one, the fixer, always trying to fix everything, the one that doesn't need any help. Everybody thinks that you always got to help everybody else, but you don't ever need no help. There ain't never no help offered for you when you need some help, right? And so the question becomes, for your own spiritual sovereignty, it becomes, is this who I am, or is this a role that I was given? Like, am I this person because do I behave this way and think this way because I want to, or is this because this is something I inherited? I inheritedly learned. It's been repeated over and over and over and over to the point where I believe it to be true. I believe it to be so, because it's just the way that things are always done. That's how all the women in this family are this way. So yeah. What are some other examples? Oh, I feel like believing that rest is like being lazy, not taking risks, or not asking for too much, or, that good woman scripting. That's a good woman. Trying to think of, what did she say? What did the mom say? That's a good man, Savannah. He's a good man. If you know, you know. She was like, meanwhile, this motherfucker had a whole wife and a whole nother family. And she was like, he's a good man, Savannah. He's a good man. What the fuck? Mm-hmm. No, he good, all right. Mm-hmm. Good and terrible. Once again, if you get it, you get it. You had to see the movies, right? My God, there are so many many examples of that. I could continue to just go down a rabbit hole, but I'm not going to do that. So some small ways to, practice, the spiritual sovereignty in your life. Question ideas before, you go around and just always accepting them. Question the ideas that you've already accepted, the things that you've already have it in your mind that you just go along with. Question those sometimes. Reflect before adopting somebody else's belief, and somebody says something or whatever, and you just automatically are like just going along with it. Question it sometimes. It's okay. It is okay to question some shit sometimes, because whew, you stand for nothing, you'll fall for anything and everything. Spend some time in silence. It's okay to spend some time in silence. And it's sometimes going to be in the quiet stillness of your life, in those quiet, still moments when there's nothing happening. Nobody's talking to you, running their goddamn mouths, and it's just quiet. That the truth will sometimes reveal itself. Journal your thoughts. Write things down. Write it out. Write out what you're feeling, what you're thinking, what the beliefs are, and just look at what you've written. Maybe reread it to yourself, and take a walk without distractions. These are also like grounding practices, embodiment practices. Deep breathing is another way, that you can help you to sort of kind of give yourself that pause, that moment of silence that you need to be able to discern for yourself whether or not you're outsourcing your own spiritual or your own inner silence. Because when you get quiet and you're taking those walks in silence, you don't have your music going, you're literally just kind of just listening to nature, the trees, the wind, notice what insights come up when your mind is like quiet, because your inner guidance is going to become more clear the more you listen. Spiritual sovereignty does not mean that you're rejecting the wisdom of other people or rejecting the wisdom of outside sources or outside, institutions or people or cultures or whatever have you. But it does mean that you are remaining active. You are remaining an active participant in your own life, right? You listen, you reflect, you discern, you choose. You listen, you reflect, you discern, you choose, right? You're not just jumping gun ho. You're going to stop, listen, discern, and then choose whether or not the rules and regulations and authorities that you're just inherently going along with or that you believe in are the right ones for you. Because it's going to be different for all of us. We're all going to have a different view and perspective on what we think we should or should not be doing when it comes to our own inner discernment, because everybody is here for different reasons and different things. We all have different callings over our lives, so it's going to require, and we all have different people and different things in our lives, so it's going to require a different level of discernment, a different level of inner authority for you to really just kind of once again, I'm going to say we're not going along to fucking get along anymore. It's about what feels right for me, not just going along with what somebody else freaking said is the way to go. Because as we see, our own governmental systems will freaking lie to us about what the fucking truth is. And we just go along to get along and then believing that everything that we've been taught is the truth, only to like later on find out that it's been a lie this whole fucking time. Anything and everything that I've ever believed about myself has been a lie. Especially as a person of color, I've learned in the last, maybe 15, I dare 20, damn, 15 to anywhere from the last 15 to 25 years, I have learned and been learning that everything that I was ever taught, for the most part, about Black people and African people, even what I've seen on TV as a Black person, growing up and been raised up and taught in schools and institutions has been a lie. My beginning and my family's beginnings and my people's beginnings did not start with slavery. We were not savages because we didn't dress or, oh God, that rabbit hole goes so fucking deep. We had systems and cultures and institutions where we were teaching. People traveled into ancient African civilizations to actually learn information. And then they took that information back to their cultures and their people and retaught and they repackaged and then retaught that information. You think we got credit for that? It's like every time on TV, all they ever showed of what Africa looked like was, the poor countries where they showed the baby with the, extended, I'm going to say extended just because I can't think of the proper term of this tummy, the pot belly hanging out and the flies all over the place and they need food. And not to say that those situations weren't real and weren't happening, but it wasn't the whole truth. There are places like that, but every place is not like that. All of Africa does not look like that. And on that note, because that is just that's a whole nother video that you'll find probably in another section on my YouTube page somewhere in a different section. I forget all of my sections right now because my brain is just like, refocus, bring it back, girl, dial it back, come on back. So, I want you guys to go back to, the rituals, for the sovereignty rituals, and sit with step 6, where you're returning to yourself. Place your hand on your heart and say, I return to myself. Let that be your spiritual practice for today, not a concept, but an embodied act. Okay. So, if this resonated with you, please subscribe, share it with a woman who needs it or someone. And, of course, in the next